Excuse me, what will you do with your first salary?
So I would like to present my first paycheck to my father.
I'll buy a laptop for my younger brother.
I will save some money and with the rest I'll get an AC for my dad's room.
I'm going to start a life insurance policy. I think it's very important for my family's security.
We are delighted to welcome you to this session of the 15th Jaipur Literature Festival, protected by Dettol, Banega Swasth India. This session is presented by LIC. It is our pleasure to present today, I Believe in Books, Sonali Bendre Behl in conversation with Meghna Pant. Indian actor, writer, and public figure Sonali Bendre Behl describes the culture and community of reading as a passion-turned-lifeline. She pivoted to writing and self-expression with the Modern Gurukul, My Experiments with Parenting, and credits books and the conversations they inspire with helping her emerge from the toughest phases of life. She has created Sonali's Book Club, a nurturing space for dialogue, mentorship, and book lovers across the globe. In conversation with Meghna Pant, Bendre discusses the power of books through the vicissitudes of life. Sonali Bendre Behl. Sonali Bendre Behl is an award-winning film and TV personality and author of the Modern Gurukul, My Experiments with Parenting. In 2017, she started Sonali's Book Club, a digital platform to rekindle her reading habit and connect with book lovers worldwide. It has over 50,000 members across platforms and has featured acclaimed authors like Amish, Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, A.J.Finn, Kwan, Mackesy and Sophie Kinsella. Meghna Pant. Meghna Pant is an award-winning author, screenwriter, journalist, and speaker who has been felicitated for a distinguished contribution to literature, gender issues, and journalism. She is the recipient of the Bharat Nirman Award, Frank O'Connor International Award, Commonwealth Short Story Prize, and Ladli Media Award. Her latest book, The Terrible, Horrible, Very Bad, Good News, will soon be adapted into a movie titled Badnaam Laddu. Please feel free to send in your comments by typing them in the comment section. Do follow our social media handles to get notifications on the upcoming sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, I Believe in Books. Sonali Bendre Behl in conversation with Meghna Pant. Over to you, Meghna.
We know her as an actor, a cancer survivor, a style icon. But today, let's shine the light on Sonali the bookworm. Sonali, I want to really explore, your book club in particular. You set it up, the Sonali Book Club, since 2017. So tell me what led to its creation and what's been your journey so far?
Well, actually, the book club, I discovered social media, or I would say that it came to a point where I could not be on the social media. And so my team was like, you need to have a presence so that, the fake accounts can be handled, because once there is a real account, it just takes care of everything else. Otherwise, it's crazy what goes on. So the idea, so it was like, get onto it. I got onto it. And, it's a wonderful place, the social media, the openness, the connectivity and all of that. And I was like, it's so amazing. And I don't want to waste this tool on talking inane stuff. And I was like, Oh my God, so amazing. I wish I could use it better. And then it was just a thought of using social media to in a positive way. And getting back, I had also sort of kind of lost touch with reading, my reading habit, because after the child busy and, we've all got consumed with the bites now. So we're all looking for the short, quick fixes, for getting your information, and we're not looking at so basically it was just about reconnecting with my habit of reading. I really felt I was stagnating in my life and I was missing and craving the reading habit. And using social media in a positive way. So the idea was to form a book club where you get a few like-minded people and, discuss books, share ideas. And it was just something as simple as that. Until today, as you will see, you can go onto the book club, you can go onto the, Facebook and join the group. But it's by invite. We just wanted to keep people who are interested in reading It was not about getting the numbers because it really didn't matter. There's just so many. It's a very niche uh, the few amount of people who are really enjoying reading books still. So it was great to kind of find those and make that the community.
That's fabulous.
The thing about this community also was that this community, it started off with this, and in about 2018, when I went through my cancer diagnosis and I was going through my treatment, this community and this reading habit, it was literally like as if I had formed it to take me through that period of my time, because this community,
really? That's amazing.
Reading just took me through that. So while I always talk about how my family was a great support system, I had friends who were my great support system. And in the same way, this book club was a great support system, for me to go through what I was going through. The kind of books that came through, the kind of suggestions for reading that came through. And also just the fact that, I need to finish this book so that I do the book discussion and put the next book out. Just the need to do that saw me wake up, get out of the bed, read, do the research, and forget the pain. And you just saw me go through the process. It was a huge part of seeing me get through this illness.
That's so heartening to hear. I mean, kudos to you. And, I think finding your tribe in today's world is an achievement in itself. And I'm so glad it translated so well, into your personal life as well. Kudos to you. But, tell us something. You interviewed so many famous authors. Who do you think has been the most interesting person or say that you've interviewed so far? Somebody who just couldn't shake off their words or, of course, their books. Is there one such person?
I really can't bring it down to one. And that's one thing that I keep telling you, and I've always said it in my life. Where books are concerned, you cannot just bring it down to one, because I think we all go to books and to reading, and we're all in different moods and phases in our life. And, at different times you like different things. Or sometimes when you go back to the books, you find different meanings in it. And I would say it's the same thing with the authors, you are looking at and picking up that book because it's satisfying some part of you in it. So there's just narrowing it down to one person is not something that I can, kind of get down to. But I've had some amazing conversations with authors, Indian as well as abroad. And, it's only enriched the conversations in the book club, the kind of content we are putting out in it. And more than anything else, it has enriched my life. And I think I don't even remember all the names that we have, done. But in the recent ones, Charlie Mackesy was a very, very important conversation, because what he's doing with illustration and kind of putting out the stories that he's putting out, especially in today's time and age, it's just so important. I've had some interesting young authors, who have been interesting to kind of curate and put out and say that try these authors out. There was that book. I don't remember it was something, the woman in the window, or what was it? It was a thriller, and it was and when I had the conversation with the author from New York, I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting the name, but whoever is listening to this conversation, if you can go on the book club, it was kind of a thriller, and it was, and the fact that the author was using a different name, and A.J.Finn, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, and it was so amazing when he spoke about what he had gone through in life and how he had written it, because he had gone through this himself. And the conversation that we had to get the book, the conversation when we were having it went into how you deal with mental illness and how you identify with it. And it was something that you learned. And I think the community, we learned so much from it. So all of these authors, you've learned so much from all of them. And vegetarian, I think that in the beginning
I love that book.
The book club, we did this book, which was a South Korean writer, and the culture that you get to hear, and the stuff that you understand from there, it was so amazing. The problem with me, and I'm sorry to do this, is because of my post this chemotherapy of mine, I have brain fog. my memory is so short. So I see the visuals of what I want to say and I keep forgetting, don't kind of catch the words. So just forgive me for that. I'm going to go through
I'm
that.
like that even without chemo. I think all
just-
creative people are like that. So don't
Yeah,
worry.
and rather than getting flustered and kind of hiding, I'm just accepting it and I'm just telling it that this is what it is. This is what I go through constantly because I just slip. They just slip
I love
from
that.
my.
I love
So
that
I see
about
the
you.
visual and I know this name and yet I cannot. So bear with me. Thankfully, we are in times of social media and internet, and so everything is so easy to Google and find out. Or just go on the book club and find out everything I'm forgetting to say, and you will get that. So that's the advantage of the times that we live in. But, yeah.
Sonali, I'd love to know, I think, as would anybody who's listening in, have you always been a voracious reader? Like, were you reading even when you were filming or, on the sets? Do tell us, share anecdotes of your reading history or any particular book that you read as a child or even any particular character that you were very enamored with while you were growing up.
My father was in the central government services. So every 2 years, you were at a different place. He would get transferred, the whole family would move. So my childhood was pretty gypsy-ish in that sense. So you were moving schools, so books, and my sisters were my best friends. So every time you went, you formed a relationship, and then it kind of you knew you were moving on. So, but the books moved with you, so they were always my best friends. They were also my security blanket, I would say, because every time you went into a new school and you had to break into a new group of people, you were always away out. You were the newcomer. You know how that gets. So. Just to not feel awkward, out would come a book and I would sit there and I would always say that it's fine if nobody talks to me. It's fine if I don't know anybody. I have my book with me and I can survive this. So the books have really kind of all my life, it's been a pattern. Books have seen me through so much. When I got into movies, it was, again, the world was so different. I didn't come from this world. I don't have my parents still today are so non-filmy and, don't understand this world so much at all. So for me, it was literally like being on another planet. I did not know this world, this universe existed. So, and as usual, at the moment I'm uncomfortable, insecure, out comes the book. So I always
it's like a safety blanket. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was on the sets with the book. I didn't know this line. I was not trained for this line of work. So I started reading up about movies, understanding about them. I started reading up, biographies of various directors just to understand. And so on set, that was what it was. I needed a book and I needed to learn about this profession, which I had no clue about. So my way of dealing with it was to read about it, In fact, on the first film that I was shooting for was a film called Naraz with Mahesh Bhatt. And I was on set. That film released second, but I was shooting for it first. And it was on the sets of that film that Goldie, my husband now, was there because he was making another film with Bhatt Saab, and he was there on the shoot because in between shots when they had the time, there was a writing session that was going on the side. And here is where I met Goldie, and he was like, hi, and wanting to talk, and I'm like, yeah, too extra, I must say this. Stop. And my book came out, and he till today remembers it that I was trying to be so friendly, and you would just open the book and fold it. But yeah, that was me. That was the books, and I met Goldie there. So even my memory with my husband is with books. So can you imagine? And Goldie is not a reader, so can you imagine? This was like It's just some wonderful times and wonderful moments that I've had with books.
That's so nice to hear.
It has shaped me also,
It shaped you, yeah.
So I traveled in India. My first travel abroad was when I started working. So first time I got onto a flight, first time I was doing, but it never felt so alien. Of course, you were doing it for the first time physically, but you read so much about all these things. And that's the thing about books. You're traveling the world without actually moving from your home. And that's so true. You learn so much. And this is not knowledge that school will give you. But I have also noticed, even as a parent, I've noticed that you see anybody who has a great EQ and does really well. And when I say really well, I don't mean just being extremely rich and successful materialistic. But I feel that somebody who does really well is somebody who has a great balance of personal, professional life, of
Absolutely.
great EQ as well as a decent IQ. It's that sort of a holistic person. And you see any of them that you pick up who are doing well in the field that they are doing, that they're working in. And you will find that somewhere there has been an uncle, a grandparent, parent, or a sibling who has introduced them to books. And the books have been part of their growing up. And you see that is what has shaped them, because the kind of knowledge that you're going to get from books, from reading these various stories, that education for me, I think I have remembered much more than, your formal education that schools give you. I think, and that's why one of my favorite books is Educated, by Tara, I think. I mean, it's just amazing when you read how her life was. Self-educated woman, and it resonated so much with me. What a wonderful, wonderful book. So that's what books do. They educate you, and that's the education that you look for, and that really works for you in your real life, I think.
Yeah. That's so lovely to hear. I'm really enjoying this conversation. I'm learning so much about you, like a totally different aspect. But tell me, you're talking about books and stories, like in India, let's focus on India for a bit also. Do you think when you look around at publishing in India, the kind of books that are coming out, what do you make of the writing that's coming out of India, out of the books that are coming out? Do you wish there were certain kind of stories that were being written about our country? Because, we're so diverse, we're such an interesting country. And what are you hoping that young India in particular writes about? Are you hoping for different genres, like clutter-breaking genres? Or are you just like simple stories from the hinterlands? Or, what is it that you think do you think something is missing?
No, I think what is missing is that we are not reading enough. Yeah. And that I think is the big missing that is happening. And, when I see my son and I see that age group, because they're so used to getting information so quickly, that you see they don't have the patience to read. I mean, of course, there's always an exception. I'm talking very generally over here. And they don't have the patience to kind of read through and enjoy the process and the descriptions, because they're so used to the visual part of seeing it. And which is not bad, but that just the enjoyment of going through the whole process. So I think what is missing more is the reading, rather than once that happens. Right now also, when you look at the authors, and you're an author and you know how it is. It's not easy to write a book and to put it out and put that kind of time into it, because you're not getting that much back. And it's just so shocking, because the amount you gain from the book, and it's just like my book club is a passion project, and there's been so many times that things come in where you say that, okay, can we do this, and it can help the book club a bit, and we've tried and we have succeeded. I would say keep the numbers tight, keep them as pure as you can, and put out things that you genuinely believe in. And there is nothing. I am not going to make anything on this book club. In fact, I will put into it rather than making, because at least I want this one little platform where, it can be sustained, because authors, book club, bookshops are closing. So I think we can do, and maybe this is what we can do, and use the social media, the internet, to kind of form the community, which will keep certain amount of this feeling, alive. Sorry, I'm digressing. You had asked me about what did you ask?
By the way, you'll be hailed as a publishing hero after this answer, because thank you for identifying with the struggles writers go through and what the publishing industry is also going through.
Yeah.
And I think you've nailed it. That we need to have our young Indians reading much more. But tell me, this actually brings me upon my next point, which is very interesting, especially Sonali, in particular relation to female authors. As it is, publishing is hard. Being an author in India, at least a book author, is very difficult. You get very low advances. You get very little recognition. But female authors in particular are facing even more struggles. You get lower advances, you get lower marketing budgets. Literally, all the big literary awards, I've actually done statistics on this. Only a quarter of them have gone out to big female authors. So, you almost feel like you're being marginalized. And this is despite the fact that women's stories are so intrinsically linked to our nation's history. They're capturing these, sort of huge tectonic shifts of time. So what can we do? I mean, a female voice, such a strong, powerful voice such as yours, what is your message to young, especially aspiring female authors, that how do we lift each other up and take us along this successful journey that you're talking about?
The thing is that when you look back and through the ages, you've always had amazingly strong, wonderful female authors. For me, growing up, I would say there are a couple of authors which have been life changers for me. I would say Toni Morrison has been one of those. Elif Shafak has been one of those. Isabel Allende, my God, these are such strong. The one book that really kind of said was a wake-up call for me was a book called Yajna Seni by Pratibha Ray. It's been translated.
Yeah, Pratibha Ray is amazing.
When you read that book, which was Mahabharat from Draupadi's point of view, and suddenly for me as a young girl, I must have been barely 20 when I read that book, and it changed my way of thinking because it made me sit up. It made me ask so many questions as to why is this? Why did we? It was so easy to label. Be it a Sita or be it Draupadi, and we have very rich mythology and rich stories. But over a period of time, it's the male voices that have been telling those stories, and it's not the female voices that are telling the stories. But now, when you start looking at them, so it's amazing. Now, if even a Ravan can have a point of view, and it can be told from Ravan's point of view, it's high time that we tell the stories from the women's point of view. And just think at that point, now you have authors who are telling those stories of, but Yajna Seni was one of those at that point of time, which was written. And, so if you go into our regional literature, now, because we don't know, and if we could get good translations, we did the Theyur Chronicles also we had done on our book club. We are doing Ghachar Gochar right now. That's the book we are reading, which is by Vivek Shambhav. These are all beautiful books which are translated.
Beautiful books.
And so rich what literature we have. And so in that sense, I would say that there are always women's voices have always been there. It is just that the perspective, what we look at is that the feeling is always that the topics that the men write is more universal and are going to sell more. And what the women are writing, only women will buy, they will not buy so much. So there have been a couple of factors. It's always been women have not had that kind of income in their hands to go and buy a book for themselves, and they would like to read. Usually you would see, like my mother would read the books that were there in the house, or my father was picking up from the library, and stuff like that. So what is happening now is changing, and this kind of conversation that we are having, where we talk about it and we say it's for women, and we start identifying, start going more and more for it, and understand that it's not that the women are now starting to write. Women have always been writing wonderful stuff. In fact, in earlier times, if I'm not in Victorian England, you would have women authors who would write under a man's name just so that they could publish the books. So it's just a matter of identifying it, which we have, and having more conversations like this. And I've always felt that we have to treat each other like sisters, and we have to help each other. Be it in any profession, be it with authors, be it as actors, if we can support our sisters, it'll in our workplaces, in every kind of places, in entrepreneurship, it'll always, that will be the game changer. And we need to do that just so that we can have our voices heard. It can't be just one person doing something.
I couldn't have put it across better myself. Thank you for saying that. And I hope that, female authors are getting encouraged hearing this, and they keep churning out wonderful stories. Let's talk about the story that you've written, the book that you've written, The Modern Gurukul, My Experiments with Parenting. So Sonali, tell us, what is your take on modern parenting? Because I have two little girls now, and I feel like we're getting so many things right, but we're also getting a lot of things wrong. So what do you think we're doing, especially as compared to the previous generation? What did you learn through your own journey with the book?
My son is 16 years old now, so I literally feel like parenting is nearly done with, kind of. But it's never done. Is what I like. But the thing on this is, when I wrote the book, he was very young. It was quite a few years back. And the idea was, at that point of time, when I was raising my child, all the books that were available were so scientific, parenting books. they were boring. They were like encyclopedias, and they were like babies. It was more like like some lab and a doctor's kind of a thing, and only doctors were writing it. And as I was bringing up my child, I realized that it's like a tome. It's like a study book, and parenting has to be more fun, and it's got so much emotion in it. And I just found them to be very dry. There were no emotions in it. And then I realized also that parenting is so, even if you have two children, like you said, both the children will be so different. So what worked for the first one is not going to work. So
Exactly.
Babies are born every minute or every seconds or whatever, but yet it's such a miracle. Even though it is happening constantly, and like when we were talking about certain things that keep happening constantly, we get a bit numb to it. But the fact is that it's a miracle, and how you enjoy it and how you go through that process is very personal. And I just did not find enough things that would help me with it. Yes, your mothers tell, your masties tell, and all of that has been happening, but it's not been something that I could look forward to. Then I said, you cannot tell somebody that this is how you parent. It is a journey. And so I thought it would be interesting to put what I went through and what were my experiments with it and what worked for me in a book, which would just kind of give out the whole process of that. It's a very personal thing. And if this was my logic in coming to this conclusion. So maybe you could find a way and find your own way through it. That was the idea behind that book. Also, it's at the time when really nobody had written a parenting book. Now everybody is writing parenting books, and more the merrier. But it was at that point of time. Having said that, I also realized that I don't think writing is for me. It's a very lonely job, and you have to sit down and you have to write it. And I hate what I write, because I always feel when you read what it's like acting. Every time you look at what you're doing, you always feel you could have done that better, and I could have, I suppose. But it was just, it was something that I needed to put out. And after that, when I went through my illness, I just did not want to kind of isolate and start writing. I needed to be around people. So I never got back to writing another book. But I started enjoying the book club a lot more and discussing the books a lot more. So it kind of has a backseat with so many other things happening. But like I said that, yes, I did write the book. I did write my experiences with it. But I would say that next time, if I ever get back to writing a book, it will be a different process. I don't think I enjoyed the process as much where that particular book was concerned.
But, I'm sure it gave you such keen insights into publishing. And, one thing I've been getting asked a lot during the pandemic, Sonali, is what do you recommend your children to read? They're sitting at home. Now, hopefully, schools will open up and we're back, with the children being active. But intellectual stimulation, like, are there any, first of all, does your son, is he a voracious reader? Does he enjoy reading? And how did you inculcate the habit of reading in your children? Or how can somebody do it?
Listen, this reading is, my son is not a reader that I am. Okay, that's the fact.
Okay.
But I think he does read a bit. It's only because he has a wonderful English teacher who's inspiring him, and because the mother gives him no choice. So as a baby, it was like, if you're not reading it, I will read to you, but we are going to read. So there were. My husband was like, how many years of your life are you going to get him to bed? What is this habit, and how can this happen? He needs to be independent. I said, no. I need to read to him, and this is the only time where I can pin him down, get him into bed and read to him. And so I think till I went, Ranveer was 12 years old when I was diagnosed with cancer. I went to New York. But till then, till he was 12 years old, every night I would, try. There were times when I really did not take jobs which would keep me away from home too long, because I would come and I would read to him. And that was the thing that it was like, I need him to read. That's about it. Slowly, as time went by, I also have adapted a bit. And I realized that there are times what we need to do is that it's not necessary that it has to be a book. Use the technology. Use the, the tablet. Use the Kindle. Because you can have so many more books in that sense. And we need to adapt also. You can't, storytelling is storytelling. Yes, we are romantic about it. We love the books. We love the bookshops. It's something that we want. But we must understand that you can't not accept the fact that the world is changing. And there are so many times, even on the book club, where I've done certain books that are audibles, and I've enjoyed it because there are so many things that I wish while I was parenting I could do an audible, because there are so many things that you can do while you're listening to it.
True.
I discovered audible was when there were times when I can't read to my son, and I said, what, I want you to hear. And I realized that what is it that I want these words, these stories to be in his brain. If it goes through his eyes or through his ears, it doesn't matter, as long as it's getting into his brain, as long as he's getting exposed to these various stories, the various thoughts. Because like I said, your EQ, which as a parent, I realized that as my child grows up, it's artificial intelligence. And, the only thing that's going to make our children human is their EQ, it's their emotional intelligence. And because IQ, you're not going to match an artificial intelligence in your IQ. So what matters is the EQ. And I think stories and books and, even if it is Amar Chitra Kathas and all of that, it gave me the world that it sent me into. And, all of these things is what is going to shape that child. So it could be you reading, it could be beautiful illustrations to kind of tempt the child to, pick up the book. Or it can be, it's to just keep this, because for my son, he was so intrigued by the tech of the Kindle that I got him to read a couple of books just because he was interested in Kindle. And then down to that Audible. So you use the tech, use the things. For me, when my son was young, one of the books that I really remember is a book called Wabi Sabi, and beautiful Japanese illustrations and what Wabi Sabi meant. So it was a cat which in Japan, which was, I think it was based in Tokyo or in Kyoto, I think. And, the cat was called Wabi Sabi, and the cat needed to understand what Wabi Sabi meant. So it was a wonderful way for me to, to see, and it was written in how you write haiku, those poems that are written.
Yeah.
So it was a format. It was interesting, the conversation that I could have with my child while telling him that, and to explain the meaning of Wabi Sabi. Believe me, to explain that to a child who is in elementary school was not easy. But I did manage it, and I was really proud of myself that my son could understand what Wabi Sabi meant. And that was the beauty of that book. I found that, there's this publication house called Katha Publication.
Yes. They produce wonderful children's books.
Stories with such beautiful illustrations, and, their stories and their characters which are Indian. So it was very beautiful. These were the things that took me through as a parent, and with my child, I took myself through those. And as you're saying, in these times, what you're saying has got me thinking about another thing. I think I should start curating books for children.
For children, people will love it.
Start that, we could do that if in pandemic, if parents are having that trouble, we could
absolutely.
I should curate the books for them. It would be so wonderful, and I enjoy doing it.
And nice mix of Indian and foreign literature for kids, because it's such Panchatantra, Amar Chitra Katha, even a Tinkle that we grew up reading. So, even things like that. So I'm sure parents would love to hear, especially from you. So, let's also pique the interest of, I think the fact that you piqued his interest, his curiosity with these books is all that matters. And let me wrap up the interview, Sonali, with our last question, because we're running out of time. But what are the books that you're looking forward to reading now in 2022? Is there anything in particular that's caught your interest?
So right now I'm reading, at the book club, we are reading Khachar Gujar, which is by
Vivek Shambhag. It's a wonderful book.
And the one that we did before that, because I saw the movie and Dune had come out, and Dune was such a great part of my growing up because I'm a science fiction freak. I started my book club with a science fiction book, just by the way. It was called Wool by Huey. I'm again, sorry, forgetting the name of the book. But yeah, forgive me.
You can Google it,
Like I said, so, it was such a huge part of my growing up, and the movie was finally so well made that I went back to reading Dune, and I said, you know what, just for that nostalgia, let's read it. And so we read it together. And so, yes, we're looking forward to new books. And after Dune, it was interesting to kind of go back into something that is so Indian. And I think that's the beauty of the book club, is to be able, I can explore so many books. we are about on Instagram 30,000 and about 28 or something on Facebook. So about 6,000, strong community. And so there are a lot of suggestions that come in also, and you are most welcome to send us suggestions also. And we are always looking for suggestions and kind of doing various things with it. So even on the book club, what we do is we do one book a month, but we are doing sometimes there's so many other books that we want to, and we can't really cover all of them. So then we do recommendations, we do some young adult, we do new authors debut, and we do some regional fiction, and like we do Sonali's the SBC little ones, when we do the children's fiction. So there are all various things that we do, and then we do master classes and we do conversations with authors. So there's a lot of that goes in, and I think the more of the community that joins us, the more of a voice we can all have together. So I think I would be really looking forward to more people joining in, and you can see what we are going to be doing on the book club and you kind of do it with us, join in with us.
Yeah. And you're right, let's sum up the interview with, it's the best journey that you can take without moving your feet. Sonali, thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed this conversation. I loved getting to know this bookish side of you. It was so interesting. And I'm sure the viewers and listeners will also enjoy this. And of course, thank you to Jaipur Literature Festival for having us here. It was I know it's been a very challenging time for them also. So, I'm glad they brought us together and we had this amazing conversation.
I have to say, like you said, yes, thank you. I really have to thank the Jaipur Lit Fest. I remember the time when we were there, and after coming back also when I'd done the session, and I really, really wish we can do these physical sessions, because the community that is there, and, just meeting people, so wonderful. Yes, it is so wonderful. But it's amazing that even through what is happening, all the founders and everybody in the team at the Lit Fest, how they're pulling this off and how they put this together, really
phenomenal.
Hats off to you, and thank you for not giving up on the Lit Fest and for continuing and persevering. Thank you for that. We love you for that, and thanks you for doing that.
We do.
And Meghna, I'm looking forward to you. Please, I would love to see your book. It's called Voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
My latest, and it's got a beautiful cover, by the way. I'm in love with the cover. It took us 3 months to figure out the cover, which is a difficult book to get the cover. I'll send you the book, definitely. I think you'll enjoy it.
I will definitely get the book, and I would love to go through it, and if we could do something on the book club with it, it would be lovely.
That would be lovely. Thank you, Sonali. My only apology is that it might make you weep. Apologies in advance. That's the feedback I'm getting, that people couldn't put it down and they wanted to murder the male protagonist. So quite interesting feedback. But thank you, Sonali.
We're looking forward to anything that gets you emotional. Is a lovely story. So yes, all good stories all the time. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Meghna. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonali. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Sonali and Meghna, for reclaiming the power of the written word and sharing its impact with us in this delightful conversation. This session is presented by LIC. And thank you all for watching and being such a great audience. Please stay logged on to continue to watch with us the series of exciting sessions featuring a stellar list of speakers that have been specially curated for you. Sessions are ongoing across all 3 venues, Front Lawn, Mughal Tent, and Darbar Hall. Stay tuned for the next session.
हाय, आप अपनी पहली सैलरी कैसे खर्च करेंगे?
डेफिनेटली कुछ पैसे इन्वेस्ट करना चाहूँगा।
मैं अपने छोटे भाई के लिए स्मार्टफोन खरीदूंगी।
मैं अपनी पहली सैलरी अपने पापा मम्मी को देना चाहूँगा।
मुझे ट्रैवलिंग का बहुत शौक है।
मैं लाइफ इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी लूँगा, क्योंकि वो मेरे और मेरी फैमिली की सिक्योरिटी के लिए जरूरी है।